Westwood, California. We're on the UCLA campus at Pauley Pavilion, where today two of the national powers in women's gymnastics face off with one another. It's the UCLA Bruins and the visiting Stanford Cardinals. And hello again, everybody. Barry Tompkins, along with Kathy Johnson-Clark. And Kathy, these two teams, a long history with one another.
They're definitely two quality teams, and the history that you refer to has been good for both teams. Last year's Pac-10 championships was a huge moment for both of them. It was the highlight of the season for Stanford, defeating UCLA. They were better than they were all season. It was incredible. They didn't quite hold on to that kind of form at the Nationals, but UCLA had a wake-up call. They went, whoa, we're talented, we've got depth, we've got everything it takes to win Nationals and win it big, but we better get focused because we can be beat.
Well, that was last year. What about this year? The talent level hasn't dropped off all that much. First of all, you look at UCLA. They have Ani Willis, and when you have Ani Willis, that's a pretty good starting point.
Oh, absolutely. She is dynamic and powerful on all four events, and she is so consistent. You can always count on her to hit and hit big. And Jamie Dancher, she is hot this year. I tell you what, there's not a gymnast in the country that could beat her if she's on, and if she competes in the all-around, she could be the all-around national champion as well. And if you like tens, well, she scored 11 last year and 5 so far this year, so who knows what we'll see today.
That's not too bad. Let's talk about Stanford. I mean, they don't drop off a whole lot either in the talent department.
No, I have to mention Caroline Floor. She is doing incredibly well for Stanford this year. Other gymnasts are working into the all-around, but she's such a beautiful, elegant, consistent gymnast. I think that's somebody we're going to watch today.
All right, well, what this meet really is, it's a barometer. It's going to tell these two teams where they are as they look ahead, both to the conference championship and, of course, down the road to another possible national championship. Stanford and UCLA coming up. Welcome back to UCLA. Barry Tompkins with Kathy Johnson-Clark. We're at Pauley Pavilion. We await the start of the competition between Stanford and UCLA. Let's take a look at the national rankings. And in this sport, maybe more than any other, they really don't give you a true idea of what's what.
Well, they're definitely not indicative of what is to come when nationals come around, because a lot of the teams haven't competed all their gymnasts in the all-around yet. They're resting them. Some of them are injured and will come back as the season progresses. So it's not an indication of what will happen at nationals. It's what's happening right now.
Well, and that is what's happening right now. Stanford 7. There is the new Stanford coach. Kristin Smith came over after being an assistant for 5 years at Arizona State. A very successful program there, of course, in her first year at Stanford. Valerie Condos-Field, she has done just about everything you could ask.
One of the most respected coaches in collegiate gymnastics, and she's done it all. I mean, 3 national titles in the last 5 years.
And 4 times the National Coach of the Year in the last 6 years. And again, a powerhouse UCLA team. Here is the order that we're going to be watching today. Stanford will be on the uneven bars to start things, while UCLA will be on the vault. The second rotation finds Stanford on the vault, UCLA on the bars, and the floor X for Stanford, and the balance beam for UCLA in rotation 3. And then, of course, they flop in the 4th and final rotation. Our first vaulter for UCLA is going to be Lindsey Dong, and Lindsey has not quite hit it in all her practice runs, so let's see if she can be a gamer here.
Well, they have a few gymnasts that are going to have to come up and be gamers. UCLA has some injuries. Some of their key players are not competing, and so the good news is it gives some experience to some of the other gymnasts so that they can provide depth maybe later in the season. So it's very good experience for a few of the gymnasts, including Lindsey Dong, who only competed vault 4 times last year in total. Oh, back on the board, but she pulled it out. Boy, she was way, way back on that vaulting board.
That's exactly what she was doing during practice runs.
That makes her, see, she hits right on the tail end of the board and is short on the horse. Very, very hard to block and push up. So it just basically rotated about horse height. The Pike Sukahara.
She's happy. She's happy with good reason. She saved it, didn't she?
You know what? The name of the game is hit your routine, hit your vault. You can't change the value of it. It's not as highly valued. It's worth a 9.8 maximum. But you know what? They train to go out and be the best that they could be. And everybody's happy with them.
Let's go over to Kristin Jensen now, who is on the uneven bars for Stanford.
This Stanford team looked very good in warm-ups. Very well trained, looked well prepared. And this will be a good event for them. Bars and beam are really their best events. And keep in mind, the judges are looking for those handstands right on top of the bar when they pirouette. She's going past the handstand position a little bit.
score for Dong, incidentally, 9-3-5.
There's her release move. Okay, very steady. Very, very steady. As I said, the judges are going to be looking for those handstand positions, the pirouetting handstands, to be right on top of the bar. They're looking for vertical. And she was a little bit past.
A 2001 Scholastic All-American, Jamie.
Second vaulter for UCLA, Jamie Williams. 9-3-5, as we said, for Lindsey Dong.
This will be her first time to compete on the vault. Layout Tsukahara. Not bad, not bad.
Little half step on the landing.
See, the things that will hurt UCLA right now is most of the top schools are trying to get all 10-0 valued vaults. Because you just started a deficit if you don't have it. So their first two vaults right off the bat are starting at 9.8.
Lise Leveille on uneven bars. Lise Leveille, of course, Canadian Olympian, has had a lot of international experience.
We have several gymnasts here who have a lot of international experience, former Olympians. I should say Olympians. You're never a former Olympian, always. I should know better.
9-8-5, the score on uneven bars for Kristin Jensen. Lise Leveille, as we said, a member of the Canadian Olympic team. A lot of Canadian Olympians that we're going to be watching here today in this duel.
Half the Sydney team, just about, is here. Two on UCLA, Michelle Conway and Yvonne Tousek. So it's kind of mini reunion here. Lise Leveille immediately had an impact on Stanford's team last year. Used that experience, competed very well. Big swinger here. Keeping a little bit away in form. You can see her feet. Oh, very sluggish on that handstand again. Judges looking right on top of the bar is what they want to see. Double layout. Check on the landing. Not a bad routine. I mean, you look at the team, you could say this is exactly what they're trying to do. That's the best they could do at this point. And as the season goes on, obviously what they're working on is trying to clean up the execution and get those handstands on top of the bar.
Right. It's all pointing towards something at the end of the season. This is just really the heart of the season. Looking there at Yvonne Tousek. Vault for Williams, incidentally, 9-4-7-5.
That's a Yurchenko vault, the round-off entry. Now you're going to start seeing some vaults that are valued at 10.0. So we'll immediately jump to a higher range of scores here. She gets right up on top. I've seen her block a little bit higher, but it was a very clean body position in the air, which is impressive, right? There. A little bit of a pike, little knee bend, but we're looking at it in slow motion. Judges don't get to see it. They don't get to see it 2 and 3 times either.
2001 Pac-10 Freshman of the Year, Lindsey. They
look for the overall dynamics of the ball, height, and of course the all-important landing.
Here's a look at Valerie Condos. And as we said, she has done everything that you can do in gymnastics coaching. 4 out of the last 6 years. She's been the National Coach of the Year. Her team has won 3 national championships.